Hello class and welcome back. In this video we're going to write an application named Daily Temps that continually prompts a user for a series of daily high temperatures until the user enters a sentinel value. Valid temperatures range from -20 through 130 Fahrenheit. When the user enters a valid temperature, add it to a total. When the user enters an invalid temperature, display an error message. Before the program ends, display the number of temperatures entered and the average temperature. Okay, let's go ahead and open up Visual Studio. We're going to create a new project, console apps. We're going to call it Daily Temps. Get rid of our starter code. We're going to be using system.console. Sorry, static system.console. I'm just in the habit of doing that. We will not need those, or we will, but you know what I mean. Okay, let's go ahead and create a class called Daily Temps. Open and close curly brace for the body. We're going to have a static void main method. Open and close curly braces for that. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to create a while loop. For this, we're going to be prompting our user continually. We're going to tell them if they have an error. We have some constants, a low and a high. So let's go ahead and type in some of these variables that we're going to need. So we're going to need an integer for whatever they type in for the temperature. Okay. We are going to need let's see, we're going to need an integer for, I'm just going to say count. We're going to need an integer for the total. We're going to need a double for the average. We're going to need a constant integer for the low, and that's going to equal -20. We're going to have a constant integer for the high, and that's going to equal 130. And we need our quit function. So we're going to have a constant integer for quit, and let's just say that that's 999 one more time. And we should have everything we need to go, except count needs to start off at 0, as does the total. Okay. So now we can go ahead and prompt our user to start off our while loop. So let's do a write function. We're going to ask our user to enter a temperature between -20 and, or between, I'm sorry, variables, between our low and our high. We're going to put a comma, we're going to put low, comma, high. So we're asking our users to go between -20 and 130. They're going to type in a number. That number is going to go into temperature. So we're going to have temperature is going to equal, it's going to equal convert dot to int 32, whatever is in the read line. And then we're going to start off our while loop. Okay, so our while loop is going to be checking to make sure that the temperature is not the quit function. So as long as temperature does not equal quit, we will continue on and do the function of the while loop. Okay. Let's do, up here we can change our prompt a little bit. We didn't tell them what the quit function was. So enter a temperature between -120 or -20 and 130, or enter the quit function to quit. And after high over here, we're going to put a comma and type in quit. All right, so in our while loop, once we check to see if the temperature is a valid number, that's not the quit function. Uh, we are going to let them know, let's see, if the temperature is low or high. So we're going to say if the temperature is less than the lowest value, the low limit, or the temperature is greater than the higher value. If that's the case on either one, then we are going to let our user know with a write line or a write function. We're going to say something like invalid temperature, invalid temperature. We can do a write line here. Let's do a write line. So I'm going to put a write line here so it makes it nice and obvious to our user that it is an invalid temperature. And then I'm just going to copy this whole thing one more time. There we go. So we're going to do another write function. Enter a temperature between -20 and 130, or enter quit to quit. So if it's a low temperature, if it's too low, if it's too high, we're going to go through that and have them enter in that temperature one more time. And while we're still in the while loop, the reason we're not taking the temperature here is because we'll do it at the end of the while loop. We're going to do another, we're going to do else statement. Else statement means that it is within bounds. And in this else statement, what we're going to do is we're going to add to the total. So the total is going to be plus equal the temperature. We're also going to increase our count. So we're going to do plus plus count. So we're increasing our count, we're adding to a temperature, meaning that we have gone through this loop one time. And what we're going to do is, while we're still in the loop, outside of the else statement, but inside the loop, we're going to have our user enter another temperature. Actually, so we don't need this one. Let's take that out of there. Copy it, get rid of it. And outside here, I'm going to reprompt our user. I'm going to get a new temperature. So I'm going to copy that line of code, put it down here. So now our user is now reprompted to give a new temperature. And we also have to convert that temperature to 32. We've done that. And that should be the while loop. That should be all the stuff that's going to happen over and over and over again. So now what I need to do is I need to figure out the average. So the average is now going to equal the total. And because we have an integer here for total, and we need to make average a double, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply the total times 1.0. Because all that does is makes it to where that is now a double. And we're going to divide by the count. Because we have an integer and an integer, we need to throw a double in there to make it work correctly. And now that we have our average, we can tell our user what it is. So we're going to do a write line. And we'll say something like the average is, put a placeholder, put a comma, and do average. That should be it. Yeah, so let's go ahead and run it. Let's do, first off, let's check it. Let's do -30, invalid temperature. Enter temperature between, let's do 140, invalid temperature. So let's do 40 now. It took it, okay, 50, 40, 50. All right, so we have these four. We're going to do 999 to quit. And it tells us that the average is 45. I agree with that. Okay, seems like the program is working just fine. You can add a few more pieces of code in here to let the user know how many temperatures they added in total. And the way you would do that is you could do something like in this write line, you could say the average of all do another placeholder. Let's do a placeholder 1. The average of all blank temperatures is. So outside of average, we can put a comma and then put the keyword count, and that should work now. Now the placeholder, the ones and zeros, what that is just looking at what position is over here. Average is in the 0 position, count is in the 1 position. So you can have them out of order inside of the text, but as long as the 1 matches up to the variable that you need, you're good to go. Let's go ahead and run the daily temps. And I'm just going to say 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 99, 88, 57, 46, and then do 999. So this tells me that I have 9 temperatures. The average is 37 degrees. Perfect. All right, let me know if you have any questions over this exercise, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.